Let's turn to that breaking news from the US Supreme Court in the last couple of hours, which has ruled that Americans do have a fundamental right to carry firearms in public. The decision strikes down a New York firearms law and restrictions. Well, Nomia Iqbal is at the Supreme Court.
This is a huge victory for pro-guns advocates. So this centres around a century-old law that's been in place in New York, where basically if you want to carry a concealed weapon, you need to apply for a permit, but then you need to justify it. You need to give a special reason for why you need to carry that gun. And that was challenged by two men, and that's now been backed. They have been backed in this ruling by the Supreme Court. It was a majority ruling of 6-3. The Conservative majority backed those two men and basically found that this law is unconstitutional, so they've struck it down. So basically what that now means is that you still have to apply for a permit to carry a concealed weapon, but you don't need to justify it with a special reason. So that's the ruling that came down from the Supreme Court. I think, one of the issues will be, of course, will other states follow? There are other states that have similar rules, such as California, Massachusetts, Maryland, Hawaii, for example. So it's yet to be seen if, this sets some sort of precedent for them.
And Nomia, just in the last few minutes, we've had immediate snapshot reaction from the governor of New York, who's described this decision as a dark day and then gone on to say that it is absolutely shocking that they have taken away our right to have reasonable restrictions. So immediate reaction from the New York governor. But people watching this around the world perhaps may be surprised after all of those events we saw in Texas and the direction of travel, what the Biden administration has been pushing for.
Yes, but I would also add that this case has been happening at the Supreme Court for some while now. So before what happened in Uvalde, before the mass shooting in Buffalo as well. But yeah, there will be concerns, certainly by leaders at state level. Already New York officials are worried about what this means next, especially in a place like New York where crime is rising. So yeah, and I think the concern is, what happens next? As I said, will there be other states that follow? I just want to add that there is this bipartisan group of senators that are at the moment trying to find common ground on new laws to protect America's new gun safety laws, but that's yet to go anywhere. We've yet to see a vote on that.
Well, that was Nomia Iqbal at the Supreme Court. Let's speak now to New York State Senator Luis Sepúlveda, who joins us on the programme. His Senate district covers large parts of the South and Central Bronx in New York City. Senator, welcome here to BBC News. Your reaction, first of all, to this ruling?
Well, as the governor indicated, this is a dark day in our country's history. The Supreme Court now is controlled by conservative judges who at one time were critical of activist judges. And this has been one of the most activist courts that we've ever seen. The whole argument about the Second Amendment is so disingenuous because we know that, with all due respect to our British audience, King George hasn't been around in 244 years. There were muskets that were used back then. You didn't have weapons of mass destruction like you have now, automatic rifles. And so the reliance on history is just completely disingenuous. We know that Justice Clarence Thomas, ever since the 2008 Supreme Court by Judge Scalia, a conservative judge, says there are issues, there are situations where you can restrict guns. But Justice Thomas, who's the most fervent advocate of the Second Amendment, was looking for this opportunity to pass this law. Now, I've been warning our state since October because I have followed the decision. The decision was issued in October, and I knew, because of the composition of the court, the decision that was rendered today was going to happen. Our communities are being devastated by gun violence. Devastated. Just a few days ago, we passed one of the most comprehensive package of gun restriction laws in New York State, only to have this decision then essentially nullify a lot of these things. Yep. We're going to kill many children in our community are going to be murdered again, as you've seen in the last few weeks.
I'll come to potential consequences in a moment or two, but for people watching around the world, New York had a series of checks and permits. Just explain what now won't happen.
Well, look, we have now restrictions on who can purchase a gun. Now, anyone can basically purchase a concealed weapon and carry it around New York State. The problem is that The main issue that we have in New York State is the number of guns that are available in circulation. And when you have these, despite us having these restrictive laws, and a lot of the laws that we passed deal with automatic rifles, we passed one particular bill that was mine that controls the use of ghost guns, which is a major problem in our state. If you don't restrict the number of guns that are available, what we're trying to accomplish in New York will be nullified, because you'll have even many more guns in circulation, and that's the problem that we face.
Justin Clarence Thomas, you mentioned him in your first answer. He said that the Constitution, Americans have a right to carry commonly used firearms, and the Second Amendment right to bear arms is not a second-class constitutional right. So that was his reasoning and justification. Other states also have permits and laws around that. Do you think this ruling jeopardizes what happens in those states as well?
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be felt throughout the nation. And, the reliance on the Second Amendment, again, is just so disingenuous. We know that initially it was white supremacists when we were building this country that wanted to keep their firearms to be able to kill Native Americans and also to subjugate African Americans. That's the real history of the Second Amendment, the way they use the Second Amendment, these gun rights, what I call gun rights nuts in this country. There's really no justification for allowing people to have these kinds of weapons and to carry weapons, concealed weapons, in our country.
Well,
we are facing a major problem.
Let me ask you what potentially you can do about it, because New York City's mayor has been talking in the last little while since this ruling. He said we cannot allow New York to become the wild, wild west. That is unacceptable. We will do everything in our power, using every legal resource available, to ensure the gains we've seen during this administration are not undone. I suppose the obvious question is, what can you do, though, given this ruling?
I'm not sure what we can do. Obviously, any restrictions, any laws that we pass are going to be measured in terms of constitutionality by this decision. So I am not sure yet. We have to look at every legal avenue or possibility we have in the state to combat this ruling. It's a terrible ruling. It's going to stress our cities and bring much more gun violence to our communities.
A final 30 seconds, because you will have heard our correspondent at the Supreme Court mention that the Senate is considering that rare bipartisan gun control bill. You have that, you have this for the Supreme Court. In 30 seconds, where is America on guns?
I'm sad to say that the country that I love is not in a good place right now with guns. Gun sales have skyrocketed 200% when Obama became president, and 200% more during the pandemic. There's so many guns in circulation now, and people that just refuse to accept sensible gun laws in this country.
Senator, thanks very much for joining us live there from New York. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.